but on the design side, I finally, I said, working with the analysis, I finally, maybe I better start to look at some mathematics and what can I come up with here. And I stumbled onto something which seems to be still somewhat unique. Now this is unfortunately very small. I don't know if you can see this. I was looking at the subject. I thought, well, when starting with mathematics, I want to start with numbers. And what better numbers to start with than the prime numbers? You've heard about this in school. The prime numbers can only be divided by 1 and by themselves. The first gentleman who really defined and helped us understand prime numbers was Eratosthenes, the Greek philosopher and mathematician who created this thing called the sieve of Eratosthenes. He started out by writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And he wrote all the numbers in a matrix like this. And then he started multiples of 2, we cross out 4, 6, 8, every even number came out. Multiples of 3, cross them out. Multiples of 4. So he simply went through and crossed out all the numbers. You get a pattern of the prime numbers, which are the ones that are left here in America. It's difficult to see any pattern in. There doesn't seem to be any structure to it. It seems to be almost like a random thing. So this is to the base 10. I tried to do it to the base 8, to the base 12, to the base 4. No improvement in the pattern. Then I had a crazy thought. Are the prime numbers ours alone? Are they the creation of the human mind, or does nature use them as well? So I thought, what if I were to write all the numbers, starting with 1, all the numbers in a line, but every time I came to a prime number, let's say it acted like the enter key or the return key on a typewriter and jumped you back to column 1 of the next row. What would that look like? So I did that and came up with the following pattern of 1s and 2s and 4s and 6s. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know what it meant or what it was going to be good for, but there was a book out at the time by Michio Kaku, the famous cosmologist in the City University, who was saying the dimensions of the universe are 10 and 28. I'm sorry, he said 10 and 26. And I started to count down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and over, and the last number was 28. But that's an interesting correlation. I wonder if there's something to that. Now, number 1, according to some mathematicians, is officially not a prime number. And yet it winds up sitting on top of the prime number column and still maintaining its numero uno capability or capacity. But the primes are in bold, as bold as I could do them. And I just sort of kept this in mind. And one day, while looking at a medical textbook, trying to understand something that on microbiology that I was working on, I discovered this pattern of what they call the codons of the amino acids, the RNA codons of the amino acids. I can't get into the explanation of this, but the pattern immediately jumped out at me as presented in the book, and there were a couple of threes, but the threes looked like they linked up, some singles looked like they linked up to make 4. And I was able to combine a couple of them and make this pattern. And the correlation of this with these numbers is rather amazing. Somebody said that there's something like 800 million to 1 to have this by chance. And in fact, I sent this to Arthur Guyton, the author of that book, and he's the dean of physiology in the US and around the world. His book is used by all the best medical schools. And he was extremely intrigued by the idea. He said he kept it on his desk for inspiration and would show it to people. And he suggested at one point, he sent me 3 different letters, which I'm really proud of. He sent me 3 different letters, and the last one suggested that this may explain the stability of the amino acids because of the way some of these have drifted into 3s, and I can recombine them to make groups of 4 or 6. So then I said, well, what can we do if this is working for microbiology, is it working for chemistry? And I went and looked at the periodic table of the elements and started to mark off the prime numbers, and there was a pattern there, but it didn't show up that clearly on the standard periodic table. But somebody else had done a periodic table as a descending spiral. And the correlation, again, is incredible, because you have these loops of 14 atoms, and here you have one row has 14 numbers in it. So this is something we want to look at in the future, and is leading me to wonder whether the prime number-led array may be nature's universal sequencer. Now the next question is, how does this apply to cosmology? Back to Michio Kaku, and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, suppose each prime number is actually a time. Now if the universe is created out of nothing, something suddenly appears, the first thing that's got to be created is time, because it becomes a marker of its existence and its process, the process of time. Without it, nothing else would really exist. There's no time for it to register. So I decided to say, this is all time numbers. And the question is, the thing that shows up here is that 1 and 2 are all by themselves. Well, suppose they're time. Suppose one is anti-time and the second one is time. Well, the anti-time one is not a prime number, not a full prime, but the second one is the only even prime. So maybe this is an answer towards understanding what the question that they have of the directionality of time. Why does time flow in one direction and not the other? So these are very, very interesting thoughts that come up, and it all leads to questions. And like Niels Bohr, I would like to say that everything I say should be taken as a question, but it opens up paths for future research. And what I'm suggesting here is that in order, since so many different nations in Europe have expressed an interest in improving their science and technology, their science education, their research, and their innovation, which is creation of new products, I'm saying that instead of creating just one more university or 10 more, which can be very expensive, how about a smaller institution, which I call a Supra-Institution, which acts like the university's university, the institute's institute, and the entrepreneur's enterprise. It lifts the quality of the capabilities of education, research, and innovation to the highest possible level, and it does it for any university or institute that wants to participate. This could be a real boon for Western Europe, because the US is starting to slip badly in this area, and the Asian nations are moving in. They're trying to take over research. They're investing very heavily in their research capability. So this could be a way for the Western European nations to hold their lead. So the thought was this Supra-Institution, if it was a pan-Europe institution, would need one place to be headquartered. And that led me to think of Denmark because of my Danish heritage and a lot of other good political and economic reasons. And the fact of course, of the being so centrally located in Europe. And so that led me to look for this over here. And I've been suggesting various ideas that could apply in the Denmark, in the Copenhagen area. And one of which is, I finally had a tour last weekend of the, this is the only map of the area I had seen, and I finally got over into this area over by the power plants, out by the coast. And there are a lot of interesting empty buildings and empty land there. And so I thought this would be an interesting possibility to create a geodesic dome structure, actually a multiple structure. One could be a winter garden, like this. A covered structure with plants and trees and things in it for the people to enjoy all year round. Another could be I'm way upside down here, a sports arena for winter sports or for sports all year round. Another one could be a water park with water slides and things like that. So we're looking at this possibility. And the really interesting factor there is that we're so close to the power plants. I think we can get almost free heat from their waste heat. And instead of dumping their waste heat back into the Baltic, we could use it to heat this dome. And so this is just one of the many aspects of the things that I'm looking at to create this permanent structure of this Supra-Institution, which would be focused primarily on education and research, but it would have many commercial activities going on, which produce revenue that can support this thing and make it a private, self-supporting activity. Now, if we could run the DVD, you'll have one very interesting example of how this might directly impact Christiania. I hope they're on the right spot there. This is from the original Harry Potter movie. Well, if we can get it, if we get the magic and get it back. I don't have my magic wand, so I can't. Okay.